The whisper came just loud enough to pierce the solemn silence of the chapel. "She's just here for the money." Elena Morgan paused mid-step as the words hung in the air, slicing cleaner than any eulogy ever could. Her brother Ryan didn't even try to hide the smirk curling at the corner of his mouth as family and business associates turned to look. Their stares weren't curious, they were conclusive. Judgment passed, verdict delivered. She walked forward anyway. The pews were neatly filled. Ryan and his entourage in the front row, their expensive black suits more power statement than mourning cloth. Elena found a seat near the back, beside an empty coat rack, her heels clicking against the polished marble floor like an uninvited echo. The priest's voice droned through the service, touching on her father's success as founder of Morgan Properties, his contributions to the city, and his unwavering commitment to family. That last line made Elena flinch. From where she sat, family looked a lot like exclusion. When Ryan stood to deliver the eulogy, it became clear this was no celebration of legacy. It was a coronation. He spoke of late-night strategy meetings with their father, of co-signing deals, of mentoring young staffers. Elena listened in silence as her own absence was used like punctuation in his speech. "Dad believed in loyalty," Ryan said, glancing back at her, "in showing up when it mattered most. Some of us chose other paths." The message couldn't be clearer. She was not one of us. After the service, the reception blurred into a battlefield of passive-aggressive hugs and weaponized small talk. "Elena," said Amanda, her cousin and the company's operations director, barely brushing cheeks, "didn't expect to see you back in Chicago. New York treating you well?" The implication: must be nice to play artist while others do real work. She nodded politely, pouring herself a cup of bitter coffee. She hadn't even finished stirring in cream when Ryan approached, flanked by 2 board members from the company. "Enjoying yourself?" he asked, voice low but calculated. "It must be nice, showing up after all these years and being treated like family." Elena set her cup down. "I am family, Ryan." He chuckled. "Not according to the last 5 years of your absence, or the will." He paused for effect. "Dad made changes. You might want to prepare yourself." Her pulse spiked. "What changes?" "You'll see tomorrow." He leaned in just slightly. "But don't be surprised if your name isn't in bold print anymore." His tone carried the casual cruelty of someone confident he'd already won, and from the way people nodded at him, clapped his back, and leaned into his whispers, it was clear. Ryan had been writing the story of her failure for years, and no one had ever asked her version. That night in her hotel room, Elena stared at the ceiling for hours. She replayed every attempt she had made over the years, every voicemail, every invitation to gallery shows, every postcard that was never answered. Had her father ignored her, or had someone made sure they never reached him? Her phone buzzed. A text from Harold Jenkins, her father's longtime attorney. "Will reading tomorrow, 10 a.m. sharp. Your father requested all heirs be present before the reading begins." The next morning, Elena arrived early to the law firm. The elevator ride up was suffocating. As she stepped into the conference room, heads turned. Ryan was already seated at the head of the table, flanked by Aunt Lisa, CFO Mark, and 2 board members. He looked up with mock surprise. "Elena, you actually came," he said, gesturing to the lone chair at the foot of the table. "We saved you a seat." But before any further shade could be thrown, Harold entered the room carrying a briefcase and a USB drive. He spoke clearly. "Before we begin, your father left a video message that must be played in its entirety before the will is reviewed." A flicker crossed Ryan's face. Surprise? No. Something tighter. Fear? The lights dimmed, and on the screen Thomas Morgan appeared. Alive, calm, looking straight at them. "If you're watching this, then I'm no longer with you. But there are truths I must say. About family, about betrayal, about Elena." The room froze. If you've ever been shut out after doing everything you could to stay connected, type 1. You're not alone. The video played in crisp, high definition, but Elena barely processed the image. She was too busy gripping the edge of her chair as her father's voice filled the room. "To my daughter, Elena, I owe you the apology I should have given in person. A stunned silence fell. Even Ryan looked momentarily thrown, his posture shifting in the high-backed leather chair at the head of the table. I believed things I shouldn't have, about you, because I was told them by someone I trusted. Elena's heart pounded so hard she couldn't hear for a second. Her father's eyes on the screen seemed to find her. The same eyes that once guided her tiny hands on childhood sketches. The same ones that hadn't met hers for years. 6 months ago, after a heart episode, I began working from home more. One afternoon, I searched Ryan's office, and I found them. He held up a small box and opened it. Letters, cards, invitations, all from Elena, all unopened, hidden. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Heads turned to Ryan, his jaw clenched. Birthday cards I never saw, notes she wrote to reconnect, invitations to art shows I never received. I was told she never reached out, but she did, and someone made sure I didn't know. Ryan shot up from his chair, voice rising. He was confused. He didn't know what he was. "Sit down, Mr. Morgan," Harold Jenkins snapped, steel in his voice. "Your father gave explicit instructions. This video plays uninterrupted." Ryan slowly sat back down, fists clenched, skin pale. The video continued. Thomas looked heavier now, like the truth he'd uncovered had aged him faster. "I hired a private investigator. I needed to know if I was losing my mind or just being blind. What he found," his voice caught, "was worse than I imagined." Elena's throat tightened. Ryan intercepted her calls, deleted voicemails, told me she was too busy, returned her emails pretending to be her. He even bribed our office receptionist to keep me out of the loop. The room had gone stone cold. A board member shifted in his seat. Another leaned forward with growing discomfort. But it wasn't just family he manipulated. It was the business, too. On screen, Thomas opened another folder. Unethical contracts, bribed inspectors, cheap materials listed as premium, and in one instance, a forged fire safety report. A murmur. Someone cursed under their breath. Elena didn't blink. This wasn't just about her anymore. This was criminal. Thomas straightened his back, shoulders square. "I built this company on integrity. My father taught me that a Morgan property meant something. I won't let that die." He paused, his expression softening again. "Elena, I watched from afar. I followed your career in secret. I bought 3 of your paintings, yes, anonymously. I saw you build something honest, something real." Elena covered her mouth. A rush of warmth broke through the ice that had lived in her chest for years. "I regret not standing up for you sooner. I regret letting my disappointment blind me, but I hope this video, this truth, can help begin to mend what we lost." Ryan shook his head in disbelief, laughing bitterly. "You think anyone will let you run a real estate empire? You don't even own a blazer." Elena looked at him, expression unreadable. "Apparently, I own the company," she said flatly. And just like that, the video shifted again. "To my son Ryan Morgan, I leave a $500,000 trust, disbursed annually, contingent on his completion of a certified ethics program and full cooperation with an internal audit." Gasps. "To my daughter Elena, I leave 51% ownership of Morgan Properties, full voting rights, my personal estate, and the authority to lead as she sees fit." Ryan's face drained of color. He was manipulated. This isn't valid." "Contest it," Harold cut in. "We'll make every piece of evidence public. The audio, the emails, the hidden drawer. Your choice." Ryan stared at Elena. "This isn't over," he hissed. "They'll never follow you." Elena met his gaze, unwavering. "Then I'll rebuild it from the ground up, without the rot." If you've ever been buried under someone else's lies, only to rise when truth finally surfaced, type 2. Your voice matters. Elena opened the office door to find her name freshly etched on the glass. Elena Morgan, acting chair, Morgan Properties. It looked foreign, like someone else's reflection staring back at her. Inside, her father's old office remained untouched. His favorite pen rested perfectly parallel to a yellowed notepad. A worn leather chair still faced the window overlooking downtown Chicago, but taped on the back of the door, folded, creased, and unmistakably his handwriting was a note. Build it better. Love, Dad. Before she could take a breath, Amanda stepped in, holding a manila envelope. Morning, she said softly. You should see this. Inside, a summary from the internal audit team. Elena skimmed quickly. Ryan had buried not just bad contracts, but entire shell companies designed to siphon consulting fees into accounts offshore. And worse, he hadn't worked alone. Chris Kim, the junior analyst who once shadowed Ryan, had flagged suspicious file behavior in the company's shared drive 2 weeks before the funeral. He'd copied everything, contracts, flagged emails, doctored PDFs, into a secure folder labeled for insurance. He hadn't told anyone, until now. By noon, the boardroom was filled again, not for inheritance this time, but for accountability. Before we proceed, Elena said clearly, I want to show you something. She connected her laptop to the projector. The screen lit up with metadata logs, internal flags, and a digital breadcrumb trail that could bury reputations. Chris sat at the edge of the room, silently observing, his hands clasped tightly. Ryan didn't just betray our father, Elena continued. He violated city code, compromised safety, and risked this company's name for shortcuts. Murmurs broke out. CFO Mark leaned forward. And your role here? You're not in construction or operations. No, Elena said calmly. I'm in vision and ethics, 2 things we've clearly been missing. Amanda nodded from the side. She has my full support. You once said I didn't own a blazer, Elena said, turning to face the room. Well, I don't need one to call out rot. Over the next weeks, Elena made sweeping changes. She reinstated 2 employees Ryan had pushed out for questioning invoices. She met with city inspectors and offered full transparency, even at the cost of halting 3 ongoing developments. And yes, profits dipped. The press had a field day, but what replaced the scandal was surprising. Respect. A local op-ed titled, Artist Reconstructs a Real Estate Empire with Integrity, began to reshape public opinion. Clients stayed, vendors returned, and most of all, staff began to believe. Still at night, doubt lingered. She stood once in her father's old office, hands trembling, reading from the leather journal she found behind the bookshelf. His last entry was dated 1 week before his death. I've made peace with what must be done. I see now. Elena has what I lost in chasing numbers, vision. She doesn't need to follow my footsteps. She needs to draw her own path, and I trust her to lead. 6 months later, Elena stood at the grand opening of the Robert Morgan Foundation for Arts and Ethics. Half gallery, half learning center, it was her blend of legacy and reinvention. This place, she told the press, isn't about art or business. It's about perspective, the courage to tell your own story, especially when others tried to erase it. The applause was real, so were the tears, but nothing prepared her for the quiet email that arrived the next morning. Subject, Europe. From Ryan Morgan. Don't get too comfortable, little sister. Not every board member believes in second chances. Elena stared at the screen, pulse steady. Then she replied, Tell them I won't be the one asking. If you've ever rebuilt from the ruins of someone else's sabotage, type 3. Your rise matters more than their betrayal.